Hello, welcome to another video by LSX Engines, Tuning, and Marine. In this video, I'm prepping a 5.7 liter V8 engine to rebuild as a Mercruiser V8, 5.7 V8. If you ever want to save, typically when you rebuild a motor, you can take this block to the machine shop, they'll clean it, they'll bore it, whatever they do to it. And I highly advise you to let them go ahead and put the core plugs in and the oil gallery plugs in. These are your oil gallery plugs here, there's some more in the front. These are core plugs on the back. This is the back of the engine. Those got two core plugs. These are brass because this is a marine engine and you don't want it to rust. You can't have antifreeze in a marine engine. The center plug is your cam plug. It doesn't have to be brass because there's no water behind it. It's oil on the other side of that. On this particular engine, I've saved myself about probably, I don't know, $50, $40. I'm doing this myself. So I've got a kit, freeze plug kit, and I'm now installing. Let me get the sorry about the camera work there. I threw the bag in the trash. So the product is Melling MPE-848BR. BR stands for brass. So like I said, you can save yourself money by doing this yourself. It's kind of a pain, and if I probably should let the machine shop do it. But if you want to do it yourself, this is how you do it. So like I said, you get two brass plugs in the back, one cam plug, and three oil gallery plugs. These thread in. And all these plugs I use Permatex Aviation Forma gasket, and it's a liquid and it comes, but over time it'll firm up into like it won't go completely hard, but it'll be a really sticky, gooey sealant, and it'll keep these things sealed up. So that's the back. I'm now about to mount this back on the engine stand, and then I'll finish up the rest of them. And I'm not going to show you, well, for example, on these plugs, I use this socket. It fits just inside the plug, and I hammer it in. And then on the cam, I use the cam plug. I use this bigger socket and knocked it in. I had to kind of tap around and all the around the circumference to get it going evenly, but don't hit it too hard. Just tap it. You'll get a feel for it. You tap it in, and so you want I've tried to get the same amount of the same amount of lip all the way around on this cam plug, all the way around all the sides. So that's how you put the plugs in on this side. This is the back. You got to do it before you put it on the engine stand. I'm now about to remount this on the engine stand so I can finish up the rest of it. Continuing with the core plug installation, I've now installed, this will be the starboard side of this 5.7 V8 engine. I've now put in the core plug here and the core plug there. They're both the same size as the ones on the back. Same process. Put Permatex Aviation gasket on the surface of the block, and then drive the core plug into the hole. And I try to get it down where it's just got a little bit of lip on the lip of the core plug is just a tad past the flat surface that it goes on. A lot of your marine engines do not use the truck or the car oil dipstick. They use a special dipstick that goes down into the oil drain plug area. And so for that reason, you have to plug the factory hole for where the dipstick would go. Otherwise you have oil coming out of there. So what I do is I put a generous plug of Permatex gray. You can see it, the plug sticking out that side there. I fill the hole with Permatex gray, and once it dries, I'll come back and scrape all this excess off here with a razor blade. But you have to seal that up to keep oil from leaking out there. But you need to make sure that you don't use the factory dipstick, that you have a special marine dipstick. This particular block has a hole, or has been machined for a mechanical fuel pump. This particular engine is a fuel injecting. It's going to have a electric fuel pump, so it won't need this mechanical fuel pump. So what I'll be doing is I'll put a plate. There's a gasket and a plate that covers this hole, so that so oil doesn't leak out there. Those are plentiful. You can buy just about any auto parts store. Oil will come down through this hole, but it'll also leak back to the block through that hole, so you don't have to worry about oil accumulating in the hole. All right, now I'm about to move on to the port side of this engine to put the core plugs in that side. Okay, continuing with the core plug installation of this 5.7 liter Mercruiser engine. I put a core plug in here. This is the port side of the engine. Put a plug in here and a plug in here. And there's no other plugs on the side that you put in. This is your oil, this is your block drain plug, or your block drain hole for the water to drain out. And on marine engines, they use a special brass fitting that screws in here, and then you have a blue plastic plug, kind of a wing nut that you put in there. Or it'll be attached to a single point drain system, which I explained in another video. There is a oil plug here. This is a threaded plug for a 1/4 inch pipe thread plug. Marine engines usually have a brass fitting that screws in here, because marine engines, you typically have 3 or 4 oil pressure devices, either for the alarm or the sending unit, or fuel pump interlock switch. Who knows? They got at least 3 that I know of. So this is, you don't put a plug in here yet. That will be reserved for when you put the oil pressure switches in. And then this hole here is just your, that would be for your clutch ball if you had a clutch. But this one isn't used on a marine application. All right, and that's it for the the port side of the block. I'm now about to do the front of the engine. Okay, I've now put the front core plugs in on this 5.7 Mercruiser block in preparation for building it. I'm now at a stage where I have to put in the front oil gallery plugs here, here, and here. These 3 are the ones that make me the most nervous. They're plugs just like these. You just knock them in place, but there can be 80 psi of oil pressure behind these plugs. So you don't want to screw these up, because if they blow out, you'll lose your oil pressure, and you'll have to take the whole engine back out and do it over. So you got to make sure you get these right. What you're supposed to do is knock them in past you don't want to make them flush. You want to knock them past flush with the surface, and then you can see where somebody in the past has staked them in. You take a sharp instrument, or a very strong sharp instrument, like the tip of a chisel or something, and you stake the edge of the hole to kind of keep the plug in the hole, which is what somebody did before. So I'm about to put those in, and I just find something that's approximately the same diameter as the inside of the plug. Knock it in past flush, and then again, I use the same sealant, the Permatex aviation gasket sealant. Knock them past flush, and then try to stake them in. And so that's what I'm about to do now. And then there's one more plug I'll save for the last, which I'll show you that after I'm done with this. All right, on this 5.7 Mercruiser V8 engine that I'm preparing to build, I've now installed the front 3 oil gallery plugs. They are like core plugs. You just knock them in, and I knocked them in past flush with this block, about maybe a 1/16 of an inch, 32nd of an inch. And once you get them past flush, then you stake the edge. You take a chisel and you just knock a little indentation in the hole, just like that right there, tip of my finger, and that keeps this plug from working its way out. I calculated the amount of, let's say you got 80 psi pressure, but based on the surface area of this plug, I calculated a force of about 15 pounds pushing on the other side with 80 psi. I doubt that's enough to push it out of the hole, but just in case, I staked them anyway. So these 3 plugs are now in. This block is almost done, preparation with core plugs and oil gallery plugs, except for one. And that one goes right here in this hole, right here. So if you look down through there and you can see light through the other end, you do not have the plug installed. You got to put a plug in there. I have another video that explains what this is all about, and I will link to that video in the description of this video. But make sure you do not leave this plug out, or you will not have filtered oil. You'll have oil pressure, but it won't be filtered. It'll go straight from the pump into the engine without getting filtered. So apparently I'm missing that plug. I'm going to buy one tomorrow. I don't know why it's missing from my set, but evidently I had it out and was messing around with it and forgot to put it back in the set. Now I can't find it. So I'll buy another one tomorrow for about 10 cents or so. But anyway, like I said, I'll link to another video on how to put this one in, and then this block will be done. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and install the camshaft and the front timing gear, and the camshaft and the retaining plate that holds it in, and then the front timing gear. And well, I won't put the gear on because you have to do that when you put the chain on. The chain can't be installed until I get the crankshaft in. But I can go ahead and install the crankshaft, except the main bearing duct back there, because that will be covered up by the main bearing. So I can do the front 4 while I'm waiting to get that plug. So that's it on putting in our core plugs and oil gallery plugs and block preparation. Again, I highly recommend you get a machine shop to do it, but if you want to do it yourself to save you a little bit of money, this is how you do it. Thanks for watching.